June 14, 2014, from Estadio Costa Rica in Fortaleza, Brazil. It was the 2014 World Cup, Brazil. And in the second game from day 3 in round 1, it was Uruguay versus Costa Rica. And Uruguay came into this game heavily favored. And at the 24-minute mark in this game, Edison Cavani converted a penalty kick with a right-footed shot to the bottom right corner as he scored the goal to put Uruguay up 1-0. And that penalty came after Costa Rica, one of their players, had tackled one of the Uruguayan players. So at halftime, it would remain 1-0 through the first half. Then in the second half, at the 54-minute mark, Joel Campbell scored on a left-footed shot to the center of the goal to make it tied at 1 goal apiece. Then just 3 minutes later, at the 57-minute mark, Oscar Durante scored a goal on a header to the left side in the bottom right corner. That would make it 2-1. Then at the 84-minute mark, Marcos Serena scored on a right-footed shot to the right side in the bottom left corner. And that would make it 3-1 as Costa Rica upsets the favored Uruguay. And they get a victory that no one could have foreseen. So Costa Rica wins 3-1, and this is the biggest upset of this day. Of course, we saw the Netherlands beat Spain yesterday. But here again, we see Costa Rica, an underdog, taking down one of the favorites in this tournament, Uruguay. So Costa Rica with the upset victory as they win this game 3-1. June 14, 2014, from the Arena Amazonia in Manaus, Brazil. It's the 2014 World Cup, Brazil. And in the third match of day 3 from round 1, we saw England versus Italy with a matchup from Group D. And this was a tightly contested match as it was scoreless throughout the first 35 minutes. But then at the 35-minute mark, Italy got on the board as Claudio Marchisio scored the goal with a right-footed shot to the bottom left corner to put Italy up 1-0. Then just moments later, at the 37-minute mark, England tied this game up at 1 goal apiece when Daniel Sturridge scored the goal with a right-footed shot to the bottom right corner, no, the top right corner. So Sturridge got England on the board, and the game was tied up going into halftime. Then just 5 minutes into the second half, at the 50-minute mark, Mario Balotelli scored the header to the left side in the bottom left corner as the Italian superstar puts Italy up 2-1. And that would be the final score as Italy wins their first round matchup against England 2-1. And this was one of the best matchups of the day. It was very tightly contested. These teams are very evenly matched. Italy had the slight advantage in time of possession, and otherwise it was pretty close. England had more corner kicks, as they had 9 corner kicks to Italy's 2, but they weren't able to convert those into goals. Italy actually was offsides quite a bit in this game, as they had 7 offsides versus England's 0 offsides. As England was very disciplined, but their shots on goal was pretty much even, as England had 5 shots on goal, Italy 4 shots on goal. They got 2 of those converted into goals, and Italy wins this one. Mario Balotelli comes up huge for Italy. June 19, 2014, from the Arena Corinthians in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's the 2014 World Cup, Brazil. And in the second matchup of the day, we had a matchup from Group D, and it featured Uruguay versus England. And this game was basically a winner-go-home type of match. So the loser would be in a pretty precarious predicament. Not quite eliminated, but we'll get to that later. But as for today and in this game, it was scoreless until the 39th minute mark when Luis Suarez scored the goal with a header to the bottom left corner to put Uruguay up 1-0. That would be it for the first half. So Uruguay went into halftime up 1-0. And it would be 1-0 deep into the second. But then at the 75th minute mark, Wayne Rooney scored the goal with a left-footed shot to the bottom left corner to tie this game up at 1 goal apiece. But then, just 11 minutes later, things were looking England's way until Luis Suarez does it again as he scored the goal with a right-footed shot from the right side to the center of the goal. And that put Uruguay up 2-1. There would be 5 extra minutes added on, but it wouldn't be enough as Uruguay holds on to win this game in quite an amazing victory. So they win 2-1, and they actually only had 2 shots on goal. But that's all Luis Suarez would need, as he scored in the first half off the header, and he scored in the second half as he broke loose, and they had that right-footed shot. It was just one-on-one, and he took it with a beautiful kick. He's one of the best strikers in the world. Luis Suarez scores both goals for Uruguay. He keeps Uruguay alive. England is all but done here at the World Cup as they have 0 points, and everyone else in their group, in Group D, Costa Rica, Italy, and Uruguay all have 3 points. Alright, so England's not technically eliminated. They would be eliminated if tomorrow Italy and Costa Rica tie. If they tie in their matchup tomorrow on June 20th at noon Eastern time, that game ends in a tie. England's eliminated. They're still technically alive at the moment. What they need is for whoever wins the game between Costa Rica and Italy cannot win another game. Actually, whoever loses the game, they have to lose their next game. And then Uruguay has to lose their next game. So they need actually for Italy to win and Costa Rica to lose to Italy, and then they need to beat Costa Rica, and then they would need Italy to beat Uruguay. So the only way England can stay alive is if Italy wins all 3 of their games, Costa Rica loses both of their games, and Uruguay loses their last game. And then England could be in a playoff for the final spot, because then they would be tied for third, with 3 points with Uruguay and Costa Rica, and Italy would have 9. But that's a very long shot. More than likely, England's done. In this game, though, England actually had 3 times as many shots on goal as Uruguay. They had 6 shots on goal. Uruguay only had 2. England only converted that into 1 goal, whereas Uruguay had 100%. They got 2 goals off of 2 shots on goal. And England actually dominated the time of possession, 62% to 38%. But Uruguay was unbelievable defensively. They had 5 saves to England's 0. As Fernando Muslera was excellent in net for Uruguay, and they had good defense from Godin, Jimenez, among others. So Uruguay wins 2-1, and they all but eliminate England from the World Cup. June 20th, 2014, from Arena Pernambuco from Recife, Brazil, was the 2014 World Cup Brazil. And then the first matchup of the day, we had Italy versus Costa Rica. And in this game, at the 44-minute mark, Brian Ruiz scored a goal on the header to the bottom right corner, and Costa Rica went up 1-0. That would be it for the first half. And they went into halftime with a 1-0 lead. And in the second half, they would fend off Italy as they shut them out with excellent goal play from Keylor Navas. And Costa Rica holds on to win 1-0 as they upset Italy. And they get their second win of the World Cup, and they've now eliminated England. England is now eliminated from the group round, as there's no way that England can move on at this point. England needed Italy to win this game, and Costa Rica wins and knocks England out. And in this game, it was just an amazing tight battle between these 2 teams. Both of them were even on shots and shots on goal. It's 10 apiece and 6 shots on goal apiece. Costa Rica actually had twice as many fouls, but the end, that wouldn't matter. That Italy actually owned the time of possession 58% to 42%. But it was the defense and the goalkeeping of Costa Rica that shut down Italy and shut them out as they refused to let them score a goal. And with that, just before halftime, that header by Ruiz was all it took for Costa Rica to get the improbable win, as they proved that anything could happen in the World Cup. As they beat Italy 1-0, and now a heavyweight in England. We see another top 10 team dropped out of the World Cup, as Spain, the number 1 team, is already eliminated, and now England is gone. So Costa Rica with the big win here on June 20th, 1-0 over Italy. Costa Rica will be moving on to the next round. June 24, 2014, from Estadio das Donas in Natal, Brazil, was the 2014 World Cup from Brazil. And in the first pair of matchups from the day, we saw teams from Group E facing off, as we were going to finalize who was moving on and in what position. And we had Italy versus Uruguay, as they were battling it out, as the winner would move on and the loser would go home. And if they tied, then Uruguay would end up advancing. So Italy would only move on with a victory, and Uruguay could move on with a victory or a tie. And this game was tied throughout. It was very tightly contested. Italy tried to get in there, but Uruguay was holding them off. They were holding on to the tie, but then just for good measure, in the second half, at the 81st minute mark, Diego Godin scored the goal with a header to the bottom right corner with an assist from Gaston Ramirez. What an amazing play. Uruguay goes up 1-0, and that would be the final score as Uruguay moves on and Italy is eliminated from the 2014 FIFA World Cup. So Uruguay with the late goal late in the second half, the 81st minute mark by Diego Godin, and they move on to the next round. Amazingly, Italy is eliminated. Everybody had them moving on. They had both of these teams moving on, but Costa Rica in that other game, and even in the games earlier, as they had beat both of these teams, they really surprised everyone. And now Italy is gone. And in this game, Uruguay had twice as many shots on goal, nearly, as they had 9 shots on goal versus Italy's 5 shots on goal. They were even on corner kicks, and Italy actually owned the time of possession. It was in their favor, 55-45. But they were not able to capitalize and turn that into goals. They had some good goalkeeping from Buffon. He had 4 saves, but it wouldn't be enough as Uruguay was able to eke out that goal in the 81st minute mark, and they get the win. There was a little bit of controversy with Luis Suarez and fight, but you can check that out. This is more about the game and about Uruguay, and they win and they move on. So they will be heading on to the next round. June 24th, from Estadio Mineirão in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, was the 2014 World Cup Brazil. In the first pair of matchups from the day, we had teams from Group D. In this game, we had Costa Rica versus England. This game didn't matter at all, as Costa Rica already was the top team moving on from the group, and England was already eliminated. The only thing left to play for was respect. And England had a chance after losing twice to actually gain some respect here and maybe pull away a victory against the top team in their group, even though they had no chance of moving on and Costa Rica was already moving on. It's a perfect position for England to show that they belonged in the tournament. But what did they do? They played a draw, a 0-0 draw. And England shows that they are the most pathetic team in the whole world of soccer. Like Spain went out, they were the number 1 seed, but at least they won a game. But England didn't even deserve to be in the World Cup, as they've showed from their pathetic performance. Their coach should be fired. All their players are trash. As they went out there, they basically stole money from all the fans in the stands with their performance. England, the worst team in the World Cup. They played like crap. They're garbage. This game was a farce. Why they even play this game? For what? Just to, oh yeah, we gotta play it. We stole the money from the fans for the tickets. Let's play this game 0-0. Bunch of garbage. This game's not even worth talking about. There you go. There's your freaking recap. 0-0. England sucks.